Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is the lesson that was presented on Zoom yesterday, yesterday was February 23. It was a Tuesday. If you missed that Zoom, here is a lesson that was taught on Zoom. Today, you have to take no notes. Um, this week, I just kind of wanted to focus on the art of the Renaissance, okay? Because I noticed that some students were very much interested in the art during the Renaissance. And I kind of wanted to show you the differences and how much better it got during the Renaissance. Why is it that, last week we learned that art got popular, right? Art became very popular during the Renaissance because there was all these rich people that the way to show off, right? The way to kind of demonstrate to everyone else that they were loaded with money was to become patrons, right? Of art, right? Was to support an artist and say, hey, can you paint this for me? Hey, can you paint this for me? Hey, can you build this building for me, right? Hey, can you build this beautiful sculpture, this beautiful statue, right? All of that is art. And so we're understanding how it became popular, but now we're looking at today exactly why it became so popular. On top of, besides people paying artists to make art, right? How come artists were becoming even better during these times? How come when people think of the Renaissance, you think about art, and not just any type of art, but beautiful art? And that's what we're going to look at today. Okay, I'm going to try to make this lesson short. Um, this over the Zoom yesterday, it took us a lot longer because the students were in the Zooms. They were talking about their own opinions. They were analyzing it and observing it. We were talking back and forth about what their thoughts are. Today, I wasn't going to record a Zoom lesson because I didn't want you guys to, always just hear what other students were talking about. So that's why it should be short today, this lesson, okay? Over the Zoom, it was longer, but because everyone was talking, this one should be short because now it's just going to be me talking, okay? So what I want you guys to notice here is on this side, this painting, this fresco, right? This pottery came from ancient Greece, okay? This carving in this beautiful marble stone, this also came from ancient Greece. So these two right here on the left are Greek art, okay? And some of you guys are asking yourselves, okay, why is she even talking about the ancient Greek? Aren't we talking about Renaissance? Yes. To understand how come the Renaissance art is as beautiful as it is, you have to look at the Greek art, and you have to also look at Roman art, right? This is from the Roman Empire right here. These on the right, okay? Now, I want to first look at the Greek art. And if anyone has seen the movie Hercules, right? Hercules, Hercules from Disney, you kind of already recognize something that looks like that, right? The ladies that are narrating the movie in the Disney Hercules movie, they're on this fresco and they look exactly like this, right? Black and orange. However, these are men. And if I'm going to analyze this, I want you guys to notice here that that whoever drew this or painted this on this pottery, they drew a pretty realistic human body, right? You can see, first of all, it is pretty hard to capture, right? To draw something to make a beautiful piece of art with a human in motion, right? Whoever did this, they wanted to capture men running, right? To do that, they wanted to capture a human in motion. And they did that, and they highlighted, if you can notice right here, they highlighted the muscles. They added lines so that you can see where the calves are. You can see right here where the six-pack is. You can see right here where the muscles are, which is great. That's awesome. So what's something that the Greek were trying to do that no one else at the time was trying to do is they were trying to be very realistic in the way they capture human bodies in their art. Same goes down here. Now this right here, this is a much more, to me, in my opinion, this is a much more beautiful piece of artwork. And I appreciate it more because it's harder to, get a chisel and a little hammer and just kind of barely tap on a stone until you could form some kind of figure. And you could tell that this artist took a very long time trying to even add right here. Let me color pink. Right here, you can see the little details in this guy's hair, right? You can see these details right here and trying to make something that's hard, like stone, almost appear like it's as soft as fabric, right? Fabric, every time you fold fabric, it creases, it folds. And you can see these creases and folds right here. And the artist was trying to do that right here. You see that right here. The artist also focused on giving this guy a pretty normal looking belly, right? When you bend down, your belly kind of folds, right? There's creases in here. And he even gave him like some kind of muscles, a normal looking arm and hand. This is extremely realistic and it's beautiful and I appreciate. So I'm going to give this 10 out of 10. I'm going to give this maybe the one up here. I will probably give it I'll give it an 8. The only reason why I'm giving it an 8 is because even though they were doing a really good job at capturing how realistic a man looks, some proportions are off, right? No one's torso is this triangular, right? Do you guys notice how the guy's body's a little too triangular, right? No one's waist is that skinny. So just for that, I'm going to lower it to an 8, but still, that's amazing work. Hundreds of years later, when these Greek people were gone, okay, you had the Roman Empire, which you guys know is my favorite empire of all time. And these people were very much inspired by these people. People from Rome wanted to copy and wanted to just capture the same vibe that the Greek people were going for. And you can most definitely see that in the Roman Empire. I'm not going to rate this lady because her arms fell off, sadly. With time, things fall, things disintegrate, and her arms fell off. Her nose right here should have been right here. But if this was brand new right here, if this entire statue right here was brand new, I would be able to tell how the Romans were trying to copy the Greeks with all the creases and folds that they try to put into this beautiful marbled statue, right? You can tell she's wearing a fabric because of all the folds here and there. And then I'm going to erase all of this so that it's not so scary to look at. You can even see where her knee placements are, right? Her leg placement is, because they even try to capture like, okay, look, I'm going to fold, I'm going to, carve out this part of the stone, and it's going to stick out a little right here. So it looks like her knee is, touching the fabric, which is just amazing detail. Okay. Something that was becoming popular during the Roman Empire art period as well was that they started adding color, right? Right here, you see the color blue. Right here, you see the color like dark red, dark pink, maybe. You see more browns. You see gold right here. And they're still also making sure that they're shading in their art, right? They're using different colors. For example, this is one skirt right here. Let me highlight that with this. Right here. Right here. That fabric that this Roman person is wearing, the artist could have just painted it in one pink color. But instead, you notice how the artist right here used a darker pink and a lighter pink right here, so that you can tell where the light is reflecting, right? You can see shadows, and it starts to look very, very realistic. Right over here, something else that the Romans were doing is they were trying to get creative. They're like, we don't always have to build statues, right? We don't always have to use paint on a flat piece of work. Why don't we use little rocks, right? Little pieces of tiles, and you guys can see every single tile right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I could keep going, right? Why don't we use different little stone tiles, put them all together kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, right? Kind of like a puzzle, and then step back for a moment and see a bigger picture, right? The easy thing about puzzles is that you can see on the box what your puzzle's supposed to look like at the end. the hard things about mosaics, these right here are called mosaics, is that you don't get to see how your artwork is going to look at the end. You have to be creative, right? And you have to create exactly how you want your artwork to look like. But they also try to be, and the reason why I'm mentioning is that they also try to be realistic. Right here, they use different colors of tiles to highlight this guy's muscles. Right here, it's a little hard to do that with little pieces of rock, but you can see some folds in the shirt. You could see some shadows, right? The face isn't as realistic, but hey, it's a little hard to do that with little pieces of rocks here and there, right? And so what I'm trying to say is that the Romans and the Greek people were all trying to be as realistic as possible with their art. Now let me take this off. I want to show you guys now the difference between the way that the Romans and the Greeks used to do the art when the fall of the Roman Empire came to be, and then we started a whole new time period in history known as the Middle Ages. Not only did everything change once the Roman Empire came to an end, but even the art started changing drastically. And if you guys are looking at this and comparing it to this, is it as realistic as possible? It is not. It's not as realistic as possible, right? If you guys notice, this is supposed to be Mary and her son Jesus. No one's neck is that long, right? A lot of these people are very slender, tall, skinny. You can't really, and you don't really see shading, right? You see lines in people's fabrics, right? In this guy's blankets, you can tell it's a blanket because there's lines trying to highlight where the blanket is supposed to bend and fold and crease, but there's no shading, right? What's this supposed to be, right? People back then, just like today, unfortunately, very sadly, people back then were very racist. And whenever they encountered people that were of a different skin color, they would paint them as unrealistic as possible, right? You and I both know that no human looks like that. And so what I'm trying to say is that when the medieval times hit, everything changed, including their art. They weren't so focused as being as realistic as possible with their art. They were more focused in trying to tell a story. And you can tell that every single one of these paintings is most definitely telling a story. What's the story going on here? This guy is dying. His soul is exiting his body. But if you guys notice, the little soul thing that's coming out of his body, it's chained up, right? And it's being dragged by what's supposed to be a reference to the devil taking him into hell. These ladies right up here, they're sad. They're grieving. But they were so bad during the medieval times at capturing human emotion, right? The facial emotions, the gestures. It kind of looks like these ladies are freaking out. Instead of being sad that their loved one has just passed away, they kind of look like, oh my gosh, I don't want to even look. This is embarrassing, right? Their facial emotions is not that accurate. Let's go down here. This is supposed to be a mother, seeing her baby for the first time. And if you guys notice, this baby's face is a full-grown man face. It's a tiny bit smaller. Babies aren't born with adult faces, right? They have the cute, big, chubby cheeks, the huge eyes, a little nose. But this little kid has a huge nose and small eyes, literally the complete opposite of what a baby's supposed to look like. And this mama bear right here, she doesn't look like she's happy to see her baby. She looks more kind of confused, kind of staring at it, almost kind of like weirded out by it, right? Right here, this guy's face is smiling, okay? It's supposed to be someone holy, but he's about to get hit. Right here, I can give props to whoever painted this during medieval times, because at least this guy's face is a little upset, right? Clearly, if you're about to hit someone, you're upset. But right over here, right, you see this guy's face just making eye contact with these, what are supposed to be monsters. Now we know that it's probably just colored people. But this guy isn't making any emotion, there's no emotion added to his face. It's more about telling the story about how people from Europe were encountering other people from other cultures with differences in their beliefs and practices and how they're conquering them, right? Almost this what this right up here is trying to say is hold on, let me try to get my green little guy. What this story up here is what it's almost trying to say is, look, people from Europe who are more civilized, they are encountering and, being the authority of people who are not civilized, which is just very racist, right? But yeah, in essence, what I'm trying to tell you guys is people back then were not, it's during medieval times, right? During the Crusades, during the Black Death, and before that, when we were in manors, when people were in towns, they weren't focused on capturing how realistic their artwork was. They were more focused on just telling a story. And I think that if I'm going to rate these artworks for the story that they're telling, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Okay. But if I'm rating these artworks for how realistic they are, I'm going to give it maybe a 2 out of 10. Okay. Because although they're telling a story, there's not as realistic as what the people from the Roman people and the Greek people were doing, right? But then there's a change, right? Once the Black Death hits, a few years after the Crusades, you get the Renaissance, right? Times start to change, and it's something we've already talked about last week, right? People's way of thinking is starting to change. People's outlook on life and religion is starting to change, including the art. It starts taking a drastic change, right? Last week, I mentioned 3 new forms of thinking, right? It was humanism, and I'm sorry for my horrible writing, right? But humanism means the study of classical Greece and classical Rome, right? Then you have secularism, which was that not all things should be around religion, right? And I'm sorry, that's supposed to say secularism. And the last thing was, and it's a longer one, individualism. Individualism, right? And during the Renaissance art period, the aspect of the art, artists were taking up this 2 forms of thinking very seriously, okay? They're like, look, we're going to look at how the Greeks and the Romans were doing things. And that means we're going to bring realism back into our art, right? And you can see that right here. These humans are starting to look normal again. Their body size is starting to look normal again. You can see shading in their fabric. The human emotion is there, right? You can tell this woman is devastated. You could tell her mom is taking her last look to her deceased son, right? Instead of painting Jesus right here in just one color, you can tell that they added like a lighter tan right there and a darker tan right here to show off where his body, right? Our body curves. And it's not just frontal. It's not just a very flat kind of painting. I can tell that there's dimensions to this. I can tell that there's space inside this painting. But what do I mean by that, right? I can tell that right here, it's a very crowded area. I can tell that there's room between this guy and this woman right here. It becomes very realistic. And now you're seeing more angles, right? The artists are trying to show off, look, this lady's not even showing her face. She's showing her back. So is this lady right here. It starts to become a lot more realistic, and it's very comparable to the way the ancient Greeks used to do it and the ancient Romans used to do it. Very drastically different from medieval times. So and then not only that, but they're also telling a story, right? You can tell that all of these people are very devastated that Jesus has just passed away. Okay. So I'm going to just kind of delete all of this right over here. So now I can tell that not only is this artwork telling a story, but it's also realistic. So if I have to rate it from 1 to 10 on how realistic it is, guess what? I'm giving it a 10. The art is improving. It's coming back. It's making realisticness is making a comeback. Is it telling a story? Absolutely. I can tell what everyone's feeling. 10 out of 10. I can tell that this little angel up here, he's devastated, right? He's losing it. So is this one. This one's just super sad, melancholy, right? So that's how Renaissance starts changing. Renaissance art starts changing is they're studying humanism, including looking at the way that the Greeks and the arts are doing this, but they're also practicing individualism. And that I'm going to show you in the next slide, okay? So here's the next slide, which is also a very famous painting from the Renaissance. Okay, this is the Mona Lisa, the most painted by Leonardo da Vinci, the most famous artworks in human history. It now goes for almost $1 billion. It's one of the more expensive paintings in the world. It's priceless in the sense that no one can ever buy it. Okay, it's up in a beautiful museum in France, and it's up for the public to go look at it. It will never be auctioned. It will never be sold. This belongs to the people, thankfully, right? Because it's a beautiful painting. This is also from the Renaissance. Now I'm going to go to the last slide and this slide. These two paintings are from the Renaissance. This is from the earlier Renaissance, right? When people are trying to bring back realism again. But guess what? Now that they're also practicing individualism, ladies and gentlemen, which means, hey, show off your human potential. Get creative. It's no longer a sin to be always constantly worrying about not showing off what you're capable of. Now during the Renaissance, hey, you're a human. You're awesome. Show off what you can do. Get creative. Start trying new things. And so in the Renaissance, you even could see how people in the earlier parts of the Renaissance, they were good. Don't get me wrong. Look at this beautiful painting. It's amazing. But they get better because now they're practicing, right? Now they're trying to just act like be as creative as possible. Show off what you could do. It's okay now. These two are both from the Renaissance. And you can tell that it just gets even better. Okay. And then think about this. If I were a very rich banker or a very, very rich merchant from the Renaissance, and I gave you $5,000 to paint a beautiful picture of me, you're not going to give that to me in a week. You're not going to give that to me in a month. You're going to say, hey, Escobar, do you mind if you're going to pay me this much money? Do you mind if I take my time with it? I want to give you my best work as possible. And I'm going to say, yes, take as long as you need and do whatever you need to do, but make sure it's worth the $5,000. You guys are it's going to be a trial and error thing, right? You guys are going to try again. You guys are going to do something. You guys might not like something about it. So you're going to start all over again. You're going to start a new painting and you're going to okay, maybe I should add this. And you might not like it. And you're going to start all over again. And you know what? Every single time you start all over again, you're just getting better and better and better. You know how long Leonardo da Vinci took to paint this beautiful work of painting? 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, not 4 weeks, not 4 months, 4 years to deliver and oh my gosh, was it worth it? So here's the story behind the Mona Lisa. A very famous banker hired Leonardo da Vinci and says, hey, you know what? My wife, I want a very, very beautiful portrait of my wife. Here's this much money. Leo said, of course. Can I take as long as I need? The banker said, of course, take as long as you need. Get creative. Show off what you're capable of doing. Bam. Now, let's nerd out, right? Let's nerd out about this painting. Why is it the most famous painting of all time? Look at the detail, guys. Just look at the amount of detail that Leonardo da Vinci added. Look at all the crease, the folds in this lady's shirt, Mona Lisa's shirt. He could have just added 1. He could have just added 2. But he was as realistic as possible. Look at how soft. He even captured the softness in a human's skin, right? And that's a realistic size arm. You guys can't tell because it's not a close-up, but right here, you could, if you guys were seeing this in person, you guys really got up close to this painting, you would be able to see every strand of hair, ladies and gentlemen. Something that I freak out all the time over is what she's wearing on her head. She's wearing like a beautiful little headpiece, but it's sheer, it's see-through. Do you know how hard it is to paint something that's see-through? It's super hard, and yet Leonardo da Vinci did it. Right here on the very top of where her dress starts right here, you can't tell as much, but if you were to see this up close, there's a bunch of little details he added to what she's wearing. You can tell where her face, it's almost like you can touch her face and feel where her face would curve, right? Because he added shadows, right? You know that her eyes bent in a little. You could see her eye bags. And look, she's showing emotion, right? She's smiling. And you know what? Leonardo da Vinci could have just stopped there, right? He could have just painted her body, right? And what she's wearing. But isn't there something behind her? Yes, a whole landscape is behind her. And this is what I mean, right? Leonardo da Vinci didn't just stop. He said, you know what? I'm going to make this worth it. Okay? And now let's just focus on the back. Okay? In the back, you see a beautiful lake. You see mountains. You see a road. You see further mountains, right? You see a sky. You see reflections on that lake. You see trees, shrubbery, mountains, rocks, a bridge right here. Almost as if you can like step in behind Mona Lisa and you would be able to travel this land, right? You'd be able to know how to get around this land. And the techniques he's used is just amazing, right? You can tell what's the distance going to be from here to here, right? You can tell that these mountains right up here are very, very far. You know how you can tell it's far? Because he made it blurry and hazy. Ladies and gentlemen, when you go outside, the further you look at something, the more hazier it gets, the more blurry it gets, the less color it has. He didn't shade these mountains too dark. He made them just very faint color. And it's amazing, guys. And then I think the creepiest thing or the biggest mystery about the Mona Lisa is that wherever you move, start moving on your desk or wherever you're sitting, move around and look at her eyes. She's always looking at you. She doesn't stop looking at you. Okay? Which is one reason why this painting also became as famous as it did. Some people even report that when they go see the Mona Lisa in person in France, I've never been, they can almost see even her face follow you around, which is just, I don't know if it's amazing or creepy. Okay? The Mona Lisa, my friends. There it is. Okay? Another thing that I want to show you guys is during the Renaissance, people not only got really realistic at the human bodies, at capturing how realistic, their facial emotions look, their fabric looks, but they really wanted to create a dimension, right? Almost as if I can walk in here. I literally feel as I'm looking at this. Okay, this is also a Renaissance piece of work. I literally feel like I could stand right here and I know exactly how long from here it would take to walk to here, right? Look back, take a step back and you're just looking at a flat piece of a computer screen. But this artwork was painted in such a way that you can almost feel like you could walk inside here and walk around, right? You can feel the distance inside this painting. You can feel the space inside this painting. You can feel you can almost feel like you could walk around, you could talk. And I know just by looking at this, that this mountain right here is further than this little mountain right here. How? Well, this one's darker, this one's lighter. And this is called linear perspective, okay? They tied math and art together, ladies and gentlemen, by using lines. Look, these lines right here are giving, and it starts right here. It's a little vantage point. This line right here says that, okay, they're from here to here, and you can see the lines, right? These lines kind of show off what that space is. And just to give you kind of an example, if you're not really understanding what I mean, let me show you guys what I mean in a very simple, basic little thing. the way that people make it look like there's a horizon and you can almost walk inside an artwork. And this is the same thing that people that create Warzone, Call of Duty, Minecraft, Fortnite, Roblox, whatever game you play, the artists have to do the same thing that the people from the Renaissance are doing. They have to give you some kind of vanishing point so that it always looks like you're walking further and further, deeper and deeper in, right? Again, step back and you're just looking at a little presentation, a flat presentation slide. But because of these lines, it almost feels like this one is a lot closer than this little thing right here, right? It feels like I could stand here and it would take me a mile just to get here. Okay. So this is what's going on in the Renaissance. I just kind of wanted to show you the art that's taking place during the Renaissance and how much better it's getting. What a great, hold on, I'm trying to get into my last, here he is. How much better the Renaissance is compared to what it was during the medieval times, right? And again, you can see the inspiration for all of this and compare it to the arch that came out of ancient Greece, and the ancient Roman Empire, ladies and gentlemen. And that's it. That was the presentation. I hope you guys can understand and just appreciate how beautiful and amazing and how creative and talented the artists were during the Renaissance. And we'll talk a little bit more about that next week. Have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe. Bye.